What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 397 of AskGSM. Here today for Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week. And for the first time in about a year, we were just discussing this before we went live here, being joined by the one, the only, the illustrious, the glorious, the amazing Alexis DeGiacomo. Alexis, how are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Very happy to have you back here on the show for the first time in close to a year.
Yes, I asked you to be on. Yes.
You did, and I...
2 days ago.
It was a day or two ago. It was a couple days ago. But when you said it, I thought it was a great idea because as we were just thinking a moment ago before I hit the record button, I don't think you've been on the show, and people can go back and check out the archives if they want. Since the first anniversary show that you were on, I mean, today's our third anniversary, for full disclosure. Mm-hmm. We started dating 3 years ago, today/tomorrow, which we will also get into because that was part of the questions from courtesy of one of the listeners. You were on the show last year, and I thought it was perfect timing because I was hanging out with you on that day anyway last year. It was not only our second anniversary, or, you know, we had been together for 2 years, whatever. It was not only our second anniversary, but it was also the 7-year anniversary of this show. I started doing hashtag on July 8th, 2013. So today is the 8-year anniversary, or not today, but tomorrow, the 8-year anniversary of this show. So, and I've said this before, but this is actually, I think I said this at the start, but episode 397 here today, closing in on 400 weekly episodes. Mm-hmm. And that should be coming, episode 400 in 3 weeks. So, I think I'll be going live for that one. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see, you know, I'll probably be going live for that one because we went live for 200, 300, whichever one you were on. God, I'm fucking dying. Episode 200, 300, whatever episode you were on, and hopefully 400. So that is coming in the coming weeks. But yeah, I'm very happy to have you on here today. And hopefully we can make this an annual thing. Ready to answer some questions?
Yes.
All right. That being said, before we can get started, if people want to send in questions, they could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a question on the post that it usually goes up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. First question, great question, not wrestling-related question, comes from Noel from YouTube. Their first question was, this is a great question, especially for you, and this was before I even announced that you'd be on. Top 5 favorite Marvel movies.
Ooh.
Very good note to start off on. If you're not a Marvel fan, skip ahead a couple minutes.
Well, obviously it's not in any particular order, but
No.
I would say my top 5 would be Infinity War, Endgame, and then, oh God, there's like so many, and then you're like, which
This
ones
doesn't
do I
count
pick
shows,
from?
obviously, either.
Yeah, I know. Or else I would pick Loki and WandaVision, but
Exactly. I'll go first, then you'll think about it.
yeah, okay, yeah, you go ahead.
Infinity War, Endgame, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, probably Guardians 2. So that's it. Your turn. I give you 15 seconds to think about it.
Gee, thanks.
I think that would be it. No, actually, definitely Infinity War and Endgame would be staples. Obviously, Guardians for me. I loved Winter Soldier. That would probably be in there as well. And if not Guardians 2, then maybe the first Avengers. That one's got to be in your top 5. I mean, that was one of the first movies we rewatched when we started rewatching all the Marvel movies. So, for me, that's probably my top 5, along with Guardians 2. If I had to pick, I'll go with the first Avengers.
I would say Infinity War, Endgame, Ragnarok, because I love Ragnarok.
Okay. Actually, I'm sorry. Ragnarok was my 5th.
Damn it! Why are you trying to steal my thunder?
Well, I mean, I'm not
No pun intended.
I'm not taking it away from you.
No pun intended.
Yes, I appreciate the pun for the 4th movie coming up next year. Yeah, for my 5th spot, it would definitely have to be Ragnarok. Winter Soldier. I don't know. Take out Winter Soldier, put in Ragnarok. Those two are so close together, but I'm going to put Ragnarok over that one. So,
okay, so what is your list?
Avengers, first Avengers. I think there was just, that was the movie for me that got me into the MCU. I had seen all the ones that came before it. I've seen them all since. I saw most of the ones that came before it. I never saw the first two Thor movies until like a year or two ago. But still, that was the movie that got me into the MCU. It's hard to not mention that one. So first Marvel Avengers movie, Infinity War, Endgame, Ragnarok, and Guardians. And that's my 5. Okay. That's it. No takebacks for me.
Okay, mine would be the first Avengers, because I like that one.
It has to be the first Avengers.
That one, like, I forgot about that one, but that one is definitely, I mean, how can you forget? But it's definitely one of the best ones.
I mean, there's 25 movies. It's easy to forget any one installment, but yeah.
I mean, that's a classic, like, American movie. That one, Infinity War, Endgame, Ragnarok, and the third Iron Man movie, because I really, really, really loved that one.
I like that movie. That one's decisive or divisive or whatever the word is, because some people, or polarizing might be a better word. Some people really, really like it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually saw that the weekend of my prom, senior prom. Not a great experience. Wasn't terrible. But I saw it that weekend, and I wasn't into the MCU at that point. People don't really like that movie, and I discussed this before.
Really?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So I've discussed this before with Chris and Phil when we were reviewing Loki a couple weeks ago, and when we talked about the movie itself about a year ago, when we broke down every installment of the MCU. Hi, Chris. You're probably not listening, but hello. The Mandarin reveal, people fucking hated. Because he's such a big character in the comics. He's coming up in the Shang-Chi movie later this year. When it was revealed to be not the Mandarin, and it was... You don't remember. We've discussed this before a couple weeks ago.
You told me about this.
It was like the British actor. It was funny, but people really did not like that.
I didn't really... Like, when I watched that, I was just a casual fan. I mean,
so am I.
I've seen
I've
seen all of the Marvel movies at that time. Like, I was watching all of them as they came out. So just when I saw it personally, I just thought it was a really good experience. Like, I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked the movie too. 2 is very forgettable. I saw that one in theaters too. I saw it again about a year and a half ago. The guy who plays, not Mickey Rourke, he's good, but the other guy, not Sam Gradwell. He's a fucking wrestler. Sam something. He's the other bad guy in that movie. God, I'm blanking on his name. He was really good too. But in the first movie is obviously a classic. But those are your top 5 definitive. Mm-hmm. Not obviously ranked, but those are your 5 favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like people would say, "Why wouldn't you say Guardians or something?" Or like, I liked Guardians 2 better than Guardians 1.
I don't think anyone would say that. That's totally personal. Like Dylan doesn't really like it. That just resonated with me personally.
I liked Guardians 2 better than Guardians 1.
That's not a bad thing to say because it wasn't a bad movie. It was a very good movie. I thought the same thing when it first came out. I was like, that might be better than the first one.
It was very good.
But then after more time passed, I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed the second one, but which one have I seen more times since then and have enjoyed more? Probably the first.
I mean, see, the thing is, like, Iron Man 3, I haven't seen lately, so I don't really remember it as well, but I remember watching it, and I remember thinking how good it was. Otherwise, I would say Doctor Strange, because I really, really, really like Doctor Strange, but I don't want to say that just because we just saw it. But that one definitely, like, that could be interchangeable with Iron Man 3, because I really, really, really like Doctor Strange.
Well, your list might change as we watch more Marvel movies in the weeks to come. There's still more Marvel movies we haven't seen that you haven't seen recently that you might be reminded are better than what you thought they were originally. So, to be determined, but that's your top 5 for now. Okay. Their second question. This is more so for me, although I know the answer for you. They asked, growing up, what team were you on? Raw or SmackDown? For you, you've always been a Raw fan. You still are a Raw fan. You prefer Raw to SmackDown.
Yes.
Even though it's an abysmal show more often than not.
Okay, well, let me explain myself
I know your reasoning, but go ahead.
Okay. No one else knows that.
I know, I was going to say, they don't know your reasoning, but go ahead.
So yes, I love watching Raw. I don't care for watching SmackDown, but it's not because of the show. Listen, if SmackDown was on Mondays, I would love watching SmackDown over Raw. But the reason why I enjoy watching Raw way more is because Graham always comes over on Mondays. So, and I have Mondays off. Like, I work weekends, I have Mondays off, and I usually have, like, a good portion of the weekdays off. So on Mondays, like, I got time off. Graham's coming over. We're going to make dinner. Like, it's going to be a good day. And then we're going to watch Raw. And it's 3 hours, so I get more time with Graham. That's literally why I like watching Raw more than SmackDown. But
And then you left at the part where the show is terrible.
well, yes, the show is terrible. It is. It's horrible. But I like watching it because it's on a Monday. And I know I get to see you. And I know I have a day off the next day. Or I have time to sleep in and stuff. Fridays, though, I don't like watching SmackDown because I work on Fridays. I usually work in the morning or earlier on Saturdays, so I have to wake up early the next day. It's usually a long day on Saturdays, so it's like a psychological thing. But listen, if SmackDown was on Mondays, I would say SmackDown.
All right, so here's the thing. I've always been a Raw guy myself. I have fonder memories of watching Raw than I do SmackDown. But that's because, for the better part of my fandom, SmackDown was terrible. I mean, it wasn't
Really?
terrible, but compared to Raw, it was literally Raw light. After probably 2009, 2010, 2011 SmackDown was great when Christian was on top with Randy and Mark Henry was doing his thing. After probably 2012, when the brand split went away for the first time, it was fucking terrible.
Wow.
So growing up, quote unquote, because I started watching when I was 12 or 13, for me it was more so Raw. But I've always had more of a thing for SmackDown. And I can kind of go back to, I started watching SmackDown soon after I started watching Raw. And that was kind of like the glory days of SmackDown. I caught like the tail end of it with Edge, Batista, Rey, Undertaker, Jeff Hardy, CM Punk, people like that. And it was a very good show up until like, again, 2009, 2010. So I'm going to say SmackDown. I grew up on Raw. I have more memories of watching Raw. But the same thing with you, though. The reason why I enjoyed watching SmackDown growing up, maybe even more so than Raw, was as an 8th grader, 9th grader, high schooler, whatever, 7th grader, SmackDown at that point, a lot like it does now, aired on Fridays. So, end of the school week, can stay up late. 13-year-old Graham can stay up late and watch the show, because on Raw I couldn't. And Raw also started at that point at 9 p.m. And it was a 2-hour show. So it ended at 11, started at 9. My bedtime was like 9:30. So even in high school, I went to bed later, but it was rare that I watched the show in full. Even in high school, I would watch like the beginning of it and catch the rest of it like the next day. Unless it was this summer, then I would watch the whole thing. But I typically almost always watch SmackDown because it was on Fridays, it was on earlier, and it was just a lot easier to watch. So I'm going to go Team SmackDown. She's Team Raw. A lot like I'm Team Iron Man and she's Team Cap or something like that.
I don't know.
We haven't seen that movie recently, so we don't know yet.
Yeah, I think
I
I
saw
watched
it,
like
you didn't.
20 minutes of that movie and then I gave up on it.
Wow.
I had to pay attention.
Yeah, you do. We're going to watch that again soon, so
Yeah.
we'll get back to you on that question. This one's more so for me. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, have you watched the Mask versus title match recently? Or have you not recently? I just added it in myself. Between Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho at the Bash. So they had the Great American Bash pay-per-view, which obviously was last night for NXT. They started, it was a WCW pay-per-view. They bought out WCW. They brought it back as a WWE pay-per-view every July. They did it as a SmackDown exclusive show for a number of years. They discontinued it, and they did it one more time in 2009, not as the Great American Bash, but because Vince McMahon thought it was like too long of a name, they just called it The Bash. That is literally the name of the pay-per-view.
That's stupid.
Which was fucking dumb. And then, no surprise, the buy rate was terrible, and they didn't bring it back ever again up until recently as a part of NXT. But that show did have a couple of notable moments, including Jericho and Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship, and Rey Mysterio's mask being on the line, which you knew he wasn't going to lose if that was on the line. But they had an amazing match. It's one of my favorite Rey and Jericho matches. Yes, I've seen it. I've seen it a few times. I think Jericho regards Rey Mysterio as one of his best opponents of all time. That's probably the best match they had at that point. But yeah, that feud does not get talked about enough. Because 2009 was like the Shawn Michaels and Taker feud at WrestleMania and stuff. But Jericho and Rey coming out of WrestleMania feuded over the Intercontinental Championship, which sounds amazing, and it was, over on SmackDown. So, yeah, Alexis has never seen it, but maybe one of these days I'll have to show her. What are your thoughts on Roderick Strong as the main member of the Diamond Mine? You want to kick this one off? Don't do the fucking voice. Please do not do the fucking voice.
Please, come on.
Okay, do it at least once, but I will preface this by saying I hate There is nothing that Alexis does that I'm like, please don't do that. This is one thing where she's done it time and time again, and it is like nails on a chalkboard for me. But go ahead. Or talk about what it is and then do whatever you want.
What? Talk about what? The voice?
Yes, the voice.
This is an impression of Roderick Strong because he literally sounds like a 14-year-old boy. And this is him announcing him in the Diamond Mine.
This is terrible.
Hi, I'm Roddy, and welcome to my stable, the Diamond Mine.
See?
That's awful.
That was it. I will...
At any rate, please answer the question.
I don't really care, to be honest with you.
Doesn't care!
Well, first of all,
It's been 2 weeks!
First of all, he leaves one stable to go to the next one.
Okay.
And I understand he's like the leader,
Yes.
but I don't know.
He's asking as the main member of Diamond Mine, not just your thoughts on the group. But,
yeah,
I mean, you can talk about the group itself, but...
I haven't really seen much of him. I think I saw him in like a match or two, and I saw him. You showed me that video of when he came out.
He's only been on the show for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
He came back last week. He had a
than that.
match. We watched that NXT last week. Remember, he faced like not Kurt Stallion. He faced one of those guys, Ari Sterling or Asher Hale. Asher Hale.
Oh, okay.
The guy with the blonde hair, the Darby Allin lookalike. He beat him. We thought they were going to explain their actions.
And they did.
Malcolm Bivens talked for like 10 seconds, and that was it. There was no follow-up on last night's show. They weren't on the show at all. That was it.
I mean, I don't really care, to be honest with you. Like, they haven't done anything yet to make me care, so I feel indifferent, and most of my thoughts are just like, why can't you be on your own? But I understand, like, we've already talked about this, like, he's not really somebody that should be on it. Like, he should have somebody with him, I feel like, because he's a weird talker, as we've already established.
He's not a good talker at all.
No, he sounds like a 14-year-old boy. And it's just, he's awkward. I mean, he's a great wrestler. He's a killer in the ring, but I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me, especially in this group.
Well, that's what would kill him, I think, on the main roster if he was on his own.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, so we just have to see what he's going to do in this group. But for now, I feel indifferent.
I like the idea of the group. My only issue is that I'm feeling like NXT... I can't complain about AEW and then give NXT a pass for the amount of fucking stables they have on the roster.
Yeah, they do.
Let's run this down real quick. Undisputed Era is gone, but they have... It's like you cut off. It's like a Hydra's head. You cut off 1, 7 come in its place.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. They got rid of Undisputed Era. They had the Pat McAfee stable, which isn't really a stable anymore because Danny Burch got hurt and McAfee isn't there anymore. They have Legado del Fantasma, Robert Stone brand, Hit Row. They have Diamond Mine now. They have Tian Shaw, the Xia Li group.
Yeah.
That's a group. That's 5 right there.
And they're all heels. Are they not?
Yeah, they're almost all The Way.
Yeah, I was just going to say Johnny Gargano's group. That's 6.
Imperium as well, when they are on the show, which is often. I mean, Walter hasn't been on recently, but that does count as 1. That's 7.
Yeah.
Or 6 if you don't count Imperium, but I count Imperium.
I would count them. That's ridiculous.
Dude, that's a lot. Like, at least AEW, to their credit, and I can't believe I'm even defending their stables, but, like, at least they have a few babyface stables in there. NXTs are all fucking heels.
They are.
And...
it's just way too many.
It's just a lot.
They shouldn't have,
I like a lot of these stables, but what'd you say?
They shouldn't have gotten the Diamond Mine shit together.
No, I don't mind it. I'm willing to see where it goes. And to answer his question, I like the idea of Roddy as the leader because he's been a follower before. Him joining another stable, I think would be dumb. But him being in another stable as the leader is something somewhat different. As long as he doesn't have to talk, which I don't think he will. Malcolm speaking for him, I think is great because they don't even use that guy at all. They put him with fucking Indu Shear. They did with Malcolm. He was on the show for like 2 weeks. And then he was with Tyler Rust for a couple of months. He disappeared. And obviously he's back now in the group. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm willing to see where they go with it. I'm intrigued by the idea. Roddy being the leader I think is cool. I think not because of his talent or a lack of talent. I just think because of how WWE would view him on Raw or SmackDown, he would flounder.
Absolutely.
So, I think him staying right where he is good. But overall in NXT... they're really pushing the limits of the heel stables, and they got to slow it down a little bit. The next question, also from @ebugo91. What is your expectation of the casket match between Darby Allin and Ethan Page? So I will say this. We did watch the show. You watched the first part of it. I watched all of it. I told you that they were doing the Darby Ethan Page coffin match this week, tonight on Dynamite. They postponed it. And they didn't give a reason why at the time. I mean, in storyline, Ethan was like, oh, if you're going to attack me and try to go after my eye, like, I'm not physically fit to compete, blah, blah, blah. And they called it off for this week. And I'm thinking, why would they do that? Everyone was thinking, why would they do that? Mm-hmm. People have brought up, which is actually a very good reason as to probably why. I think you heard about it. I think we discussed the whole Miami thing happening right now, or that did happen with the building collapsing.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still pulling people out of the rubble. There's probably no survivors at this point. It's been a week or two at this point. But they're still pulling people out of the rubble. A lot of deaths, at least 24, 25, if not more. A lot of people hurt, obviously. Might be in poor taste to do a fucking coffin match in Miami. I don't know why they would announce it in the first place, because that happened. They announced it after it already happened. They probably just didn't think about it. Maybe someone complained, or, you know what, at least they're not doing it. And it really isn't that big of a deal. But it also isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, it's too PC. Like, no, I totally get why they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, though, I think it's cool. They haven't done a casket match yet in AEW. I'm not a big casket match fan. WWE hasn't done a lot in recent years. I think it works with the right people. And I think it works for Darby because he has the coffin drop. It fits the gimmick. You know, I think with the Undertaker casket matches, and we haven't watched a lot of them, they can be very slower paced. Taker has got to be in there with the right person in order to have a great match. A lot of the casket matches he had weren't very fucking good. He had casket matches with Yokozuna in Big Show, which were complete, in my opinion, garbage.
Kurt Angle.
Yes, Kurt Angle. In the video game, which was great. So I think it's cool. It's something different. You know, it's not another unsanctioned match. Or another not first blood. We don't see enough of those. What do they do like all the time? Like hardcore. Falls Count Anywhere they do quite a bit. Steel Cage, oh my god. Not an AEW. Strap match. I'm so strapped. I mean, we're seeing a fucking strap match tonight, actually. But it's something different. So, I know you don't really care about the feud at all. But what are your thoughts on it? He's asking.
I want to see him do the coffin drop in the coffin.
I mean,
like, try to do it on Ethan Page, and then he, like, moves out of the way or something.
Then he closes it on him, maybe. If we're not doing
cool.
that, if we're not even attempting to do a coffin drop into the coffin, then what are we even doing here? Is the question. So
that's pretty cool. I mean,
I like Darby a lot. I'm a Darby fan. I think he's going to do something crazy.
Yeah.
As long as it's not something insanely stupid. Yeah, so I like Ethan Page, but Darby is the real star here.
I will say, I'm sick of them feuding.
No, this has got to be it.
Yeah.
This has got to be it. I will say, though, I do like the fact that they're doing a singles match between these two and not another tag team match.
Yes.
That would be dumb. But I agree the feud should be over.
It goes into... I haven't really paid attention to AEW lately. A lot, and we've talked about this, a lot of the feuds right now in wrestling are like the same since April. And it's so annoying. Like, it needs to stop. That's one of the reasons why I've gotten bored of watching right now, like, as of right now, and I've just kind of, like, half-assed my attention span when we watch, because it's all the same shit. It's not new shit on, like, WWE. AEW, I don't really know, because I haven't really paid attention, but I know we were talking about that a few weeks ago with AEW, and lately with, like, Raw and SmackDown and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it also goes to... if there was a point to end certain feuds, like if there's a feud going on for 3 to 6 months that I think is great, like there's a reason for it to continue, then I don't mind that.
Yeah.
The feuds for me that are the problem, it's like, why are these people still feuding? Like,
I know.
It gets to a point, like for example, Rollins and Cesaro. Their matches are great. It's not like the matches are bad. Mm-hmm. Like, trust me, it could be far worse. It could be fucking
definitely.
Rusev and Bobby Lashley and Lana and Liv Morgan who feuded for literally 6 months, and it went absolutely nowhere. There was no endgame. The matches were terrible. The matches are at least good, but to me, there comes a point where, like, if there's a match, it's like, okay, this should be the blow-off. This has got to be it. Like, this is a good way to end it. This person won. Feel-good story. Let's move on. Drew and Bobby, for as many people that complain about that continuing, as you did,
yeah,
Hell in the Cell is the right place to blow it off, and to their credit, they blew it off. Unless McIntyre wins Money in the Bank and they go right back to it, but let's hope that doesn't happen. Bianca and Bayley, why the fuck are they still feuding? They had a Hell in the Cell match, for God's sakes. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does because they have no women on SmackDown. They need to keep Bianca busy. I get that. but then build up Carmella. Like, there are other options. There's never going to be no options.
But then maybe don't fire all your women. How about that?
Well, that's another option. That's another issue, too.
If you don't have enough.
So, yeah, the feuds were, like, great, but it's like, with Bianca and Bayley, the feud was good, but then they have, like, 3 matches, and Bianca wins every one. Why the fuck should I care about seeing another one? I like the fact they're doing an I Quit match, which is different.
Or, like, Baron and Shinsuke. Like,
oh, my God. Who gives a shit?
Who cares? First of all, who cares? Second of all, you finally gave everybody what we wanted. You got rid of the dumbass King title after, 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, we all think it's finally over, but guess what? Now it's King Shinsuke. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep. Kinsuke Nakamura?
No.
Stupid. Dumb is what I say. I know that wasn't your question, but we'll get into that a little bit later because someone asked about AEW. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the YouTube Machine.
Hi, John.
Check him out on YouTube. John, A Real Honesty with John Ritland does great content. His first question was, how do you think the Fort Worth crowd will react to Money in the Bank? Is there anything WWE can do to take the crowd out of the show, like have the wrong people win the briefcases? That is the funniest thing I've read. Because, John, you know. John, you watch the product. We watch the product.
Yeah.
You're asking, is there anything the company can do to take the crowd out of the show, like having the wrong people win?
Like, to, in other words, just kind of be like, well, fuck you.
Well, like being
That's
typical
why.
WWE.
Like,
I honestly would be surprised that they did the right thing. I shouldn't say that. That's a little harsh, because they've done the right thing
in
most
other
of the time
words,
recently.
you're saying, are they going to pull a Fiend versus Goldberg?
Or a Fiend versus Rollins.
Yes.
I mean, I can come up with a million different examples. The Fiend versus Randy. Anything involving the fucking Fiend, essentially.
That poor man.
Yeah, they can get people out of the show. Will they? Here's the thing. As much, and I will get to this a little bit later, talking about like the pandemic era, now that's kind of finally ending. We're getting back with fans tonight with AEW, Raw and SmackDown in the next 2 weeks, which is great. One thing they've done right, I will say this, not every pay-per-view has been amazing to the point where I'm going to go back and rewatch it the next day. I'm honestly going to say I think the pay-per-views overall for this company, I don't know if it's because they've been shorter or they've had less matches. They've actually been better. I've actually walked away from a lot of the pay-per-views saying that was a good show, not a terrible show. I mean, WrestleMania was great because it had fans and for other reasons, but the Royal Rumble was fun. TLC, I remember being a good show. SummerSlam last year was a great, well-booked show. They've done the right outcomes for a lot of the main matches recently. Like even a Hell in a Cell, Lashley and McIntyre should have ended a little bit ago, and the match was good, but they did the right thing, and they had Lashley win.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like they're doing bad booking decisions all the time. Raw is not a great show at all. SmackDown's a lot better. But they haven't really done the wrong thing. They haven't taken the belt off of Bobby. They haven't taken the title off of Roman Reigns. Rhea hasn't lost her championship yet. I have no fucking clue whether she's supposed to be a face or a heel, but at least she's still champion.
Yeah.
Bianca's been booked well. They're not doing everything wrong. So could they have the wrong people win the briefcases? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I was not overly enthused, to put it lightly, with who won last year. When Asuka won, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
That really pissed me off.
And that's coming from someone who likes Asuka, but it's like, you had Shayna in the match. You had Shayna in the match.
I know!
And then she lost.
You were right there. That was their last chance to make her a star, and what did they do? She literally is a jobber on the show, and she's one of the greatest.
I mean, we said after that.
She's one of the greatest women's, like, female competitors they have in that entire company. She's incredible, but they embarrassed her. But I agree with that. I think they have been so much better with the pay-per-views. I mean, I say this to you all the time. I fucking hate how there's one a month. How as soon as they end it, now we're promoting Money in the Bank. Like, can you give me room to breathe? Like, I don't really care for AEW at the moment, but one thing I really love about AEW is that they do like 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year or something, and they'll have like special episodes like scattered throughout the year. I think that's perfect. I understand why they do it. I understand it's for money, but I just think it's so fucking stupid and annoying. It is so annoying. Is Texas like a really good crowd?
Depends on the show. I would say more so Chicago and New York and places like that. But
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter where it is unless it's in like bumfuck nowhere in Alabama. They're bound to be.
I mean, they're going to be
rowdy
crazy
because it's the first weekend of shows. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Money in the Bank is always a really good show. We were there 2 years ago, so
yeah, it was a very good show when we went.
Yeah. So
who's in who's in the thing is the question. Like, who would be the people that they would kind of be like, well, fuck you, they're gonna win. I know Drew.
Yeah, if Drew wins, they would boo. I mean, it's not even funny how badly they would
Absolutely.
botch that. And I love Drew,
What
but
about
it's like...
yeah? What about the
So
women?
Drew is in it. Well, Drew is like the fuck you person if he wins.
Yes.
He's like, he literally just had a last chance match, can't go for the title, and then he wins the briefcase. That'd be
That
dumb.
would make no sense. He would have to go to Roman in order
Well,
to.
then they can... Listen, they can make up their own bullshit.
no,
where
I
they're like, oh, we can
understand.
cash in on Lashley because he has the briefcase. It's
Yeah.
like, no. Riddle isn't winning, but like they would be happy with him. Big E's obviously a favorite.
I want him to win.
Rollins winning. Rollins and Cesaro are in a qualifying match on Friday. I don't think people would overly boo if Rollins won because it presents the opportunity of him and Roman. I don't really want to see that right now, but there's that.
I don't think it's his time right now.
Corbin winning, like beating Nakamura on Friday, which I don't think he is because he's doing the whole depressed thing right now, which I think is cool. If he won the briefcase, that'd be fucking dumb. Who else is in it for the men? Ricochet would be cool. Morrison would be well received, I think. What were we gonna say?
I could see them giving it to like fucking Baron Corbin.
If
he was qualifying.
No, he's not gonna qualify.
No,
they're
probably
doing
not,
the whole
but-
like he's a loser right now. He's depressed. There's no way they would do that. So, yeah, no, I think Drew would be the big fuck you pick there. For the women, Asuka's in it again. I don't think she's winning.
Oh my
she's not gonna
god!
win.
Please, for the love of God, no! I can't stand her.
Alexa is in it, and she's won before, and the gimmick is just it's not working.
I think
that
she
would be the fuck you pick.
I think she would be booed.
And I think there's a good chance, though, even over Drew, that she could win. That she will win. Because then, given how prominently she's been featured lately.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Who else?
Nikki Cross, I don't think they would poop on. You think, oh yeah, when they get back, they're going to shit on her. I don't think they will. I think there's a chance she gets over with the character. Listen, I said on the show 2 weeks ago, I think the superhero shit is stupid.
It's so dumb.
I think it's fucking dumb. I don't think they would boo if she won. I don't think she's winning anyway. Naomi would be cool. I want to see Naomi win. I don't think she will.
No, she won't. They don't really.
No, they don't give a fuck.
They
about
don't
Naomi.
care about her.
Nah, she's not winning, but it would be cool. Who are the other people from SmackDown?
Is
Carmella?
Nia?
No thanks. No, Nia's not in it, thank God.
Is Shayna in it?
No, they lost the qualifying matches. For Raw, it's Alexa, Nikki, Naomi, and Asuka. Naomi is like the biggest one I want to win out of all four of them. Like the other three, I really don't care about seeing them win.
I don't want the other ones to win.
For SmackDown, so far, it's Carmella, who's definitely, I don't think, winning, nor
No.
should she. And she's won before. Zelina Vega, who, would they boo if she won? No, absolutely not. Do I want to see her win? Absolutely not. As for the other two spots, if Sonya entered herself in one, that would be awesome. I don't think she will even be in it. And then, honestly, you're not going to like this, but I think there's a very real chance that we could see, and I've talked about this before, Liv Morgan win the briefcase. Because they're doing the whole, like, oh, Sonya hates her right now, that's why she hasn't qualified yet. She's won all of our matches recently.
Yeah.
And it's like she has to overcome the authority, and they keep costing, not like the authority, but like Sonya as the authority figure. You know what? I've never been the biggest Liv Morgan fan, but she's a fresh face. She's not terrible. She's improved. And they need more stars on that show. So honestly, I really wouldn't hate that if they did that. So if not Naomi, then Liv would be my pick.
I mean,
No one else really interests me for the women, to be honest.
Honestly, I think that would be cool. I don't like her to be like. I just don't like her. But I would be happy for her. I think I always root for like the new people or the underdogs and stuff like that. I mean, it would be fucking amazing if Piper Niven was in it, but obviously there's a
she didn't
storyline there.
qualify.
Yeah, but like, you know, I always root for people like that, so it would be cool. I really would love to see Sonya enter herself, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it'd be cool if she did, and then she can cash in like a Bianca, and that's a fresh feud or whatever.
That would be insane.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I don't see it happening, but you know that's just obviously fantasy.
Is
booking.
she injured or something, or does she?
No,
just
she's not injured. No, she just doesn't want to. You know, she probably just wanted to take it easy after the whole thing that happened last year. She's been back now on the show for like 6 months. I thought she'd be back after WrestleMania, like in the ring after WrestleMania, and it's July.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say, oh, she's got to hurry up. Like, she's got to obviously do whatever works best for her. If she wants to come back and they're just saying, hey, we don't want to bring you back right now to the ring, that's a problem. But we
that
don't
is
know.
a huge mistake on their part.
Yeah,
if that
exactly.
Was the case.
But I mean, that's the issue. Like with Samoa Joe, for example, I mean, that might have been a clearing issue. Like, she doesn't have to be cleared because she was never hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, they just wouldn't clear. If he was clear and they didn't want to use him, that's a problem. But I don't think they ever cleared him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least in NXT, he might be wrestling at some point. That's besides the point. But No, I would love to see Sonya enter herself and win. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm not sure. Like, maybe we find out, like, the last spot in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match for SmackDown. They're like, oh, yeah, we'll announce it at the pay-per-view. And the belief is that it's going to be Liv. But then Sonya says, you know what, despite all the wins you've gotten, I'm just going to enter myself instead. And she fucks her over, she enters herself, and wins the whole thing.
Yeah, that would be
like,
cool.
I think that'd be awesome. So I don't think they'll do that. And then, like, it gives Sonya a lot of heat because people want to see Liv in it, and she's fucking her over by putting herself in there.
That would be a great storyline, and I think they could get a great feud out of it, and then, you know...
Yeah, and then it's something over... It's a feud in that division that's not over the championship, too. Because you could do
exactly.
with her as the briefcase winner, and we haven't had a Miss Money in the Bank that's held the briefcase for over 24 hours in 3 years.
That's terrible.
Since Carmella. Alexa, Asuka, and Bayley all cashed in either the night of or the next night.
That's so embarrassing.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's coincidental, though.
Asuka wasn't her fault.
No, that was the Becky. You know, she got pregnant.
Yeah.
With Alexa and Bayley, the story just called for them to cash in that night.
Yeah.
It's not like, we don't care about the women, which they don't. I don't think it's a case of that. It was just like with Bayley, it made sense to do that night. With Alexa Bliss, it made sense to do that night when she cashed in on Nia and cost Ronda the match or whatever. So, yeah, no, I think, but that being said, though, they got to switch it up this year and give it to the woman, whoever wins, for more than a day. Hopefully for more than a month. And I think it should be Sonya, and I don't think they'll do that. Next question also comes from John. Since we're near the end of the ThunderDome era, what are 3 things WWE did right and 3 things they did wrong with the product? Obviously,
only 3 things they did wrong?
I mean, this is a pretty extensive question. There's a lot you could say, or I just won't remember right now. Do you want to go off the top? Is there anything off the top of your head you want to mention right now before I start? Or no?
Let's see.
Did wrong. I mean,
firing literally any of the good people, like Aleister Black, Samoa Joe, not using Aleister enough.
I think firing as many people as they did in general during a pandemic is just stupid. It's inhumane, and it's also people they could have used, like you said. So that's probably the biggest thing.
All the women, that goes for all the women.
Yeah, not booking the women is more of a priority.
Let's see, what else did they do wrong? There's so many things we could
well,
mention.
I mean, yeah, it's not like, I don't know if he means like a booking thing, like, oh, having Randy beat The Fiend at WrestleMania was one of the worst things they've done. Maybe that's what he means. I take that to be like, oh, given the circumstances, what did they do right during this time, and what did they do wrong?
Yeah.
So, like, for me, a right thing, as I said earlier, making the pay-per-views 3 hours, shorter than 3 hours, amazing.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen a shorter pay-per-view in 10 years.
I agree with that. And the 2-night WrestleMania, I completely
That's another thing they did right.
They need to
last
keep
year
that.
and this year. Yep, I completely agree with that. Those are probably the 2 biggest pros.
Yes.
And I would also say the way they've treated their top champions, they've picked the correct people for the most part, like, to be in that top spot. Like we talked about Karrion Kross, the way he's treated, the way Bobby Lashley is treated, that is a huge one for me. Like the way, and for a lot of people, the way that they have built him up, based off of what people said online or, you know, just in hearsay, like they did that completely right on their part. Drew McIntyre, we've talked about this before, like the way that they've kept him as the top champion, they haven't let him flounder, and at this point I think he's perfectly fine. You know, like Walter, like Roman, the way the Roman heel turn was a big one.
And you know, going off of what you just said, they didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think the big thing for me, and I don't want to sound like I'm praising everything they do, but like these are the things that stand out to me. Going off of what you just said, because there's no fans, there is literally no way, aside from the ratings, which are the worst that they've ever been, in online reaction, to tell who's over and who's not. We have no idea, aside from that one weekend of WrestleMania in WWE.
Yeah.
AEW has some fans.
We have no like live way of seeing.
Yeah, there's no real indicator or barometer to
as
determine.
it's happening.
Yeah, to determine who's over. Bobby Lashley, I think, is doing the best work of his entire career.
Absolutely.
If they didn't think it was working, if Vince could say off of one match that he saw in the Thunderdome with no fans that he thought it was shit, let's take the belt off of him and put it right back on Drew at WrestleMania. They didn't do that, though.
Just like with Shayna. I mean, that's one thing they did wrong. Shayna, her entire career, like, she should go to AEW. No,
Well, I mean, yeah, they ruined her.
they
That's
completely ruined her. And
fans or no fans, they ruined her anyway. Even if there were fans there, I really don't think that would have changed anything.
I mean,
to be
I
honest
think
with
if
you.
there were fans, I think it either would have slowed the burn a little bit, or
Maybe.
it would have just lessened the blow, I should say. Like, it would have made it less terrible, or maybe she would have had a little bit more of a chance.
Yeah, we'll never know, but,
No.
you know, it's possible. I still think that Vince would have soured on her anyway, because she's just not, you know, what
Or-
he looks for in people.
Well, I'm just going to say one more thing on that. That just pisses me off because she's so insanely talented. And then, like, people like Rhea Ripley, Bianca, like, those two are also good champions, and the way that they've treated them, and, like just all of their top champions are treated very well.
Yeah, no, again, it's surprising because given that they can control the fan reactions, even they tell you who to boo and to cheer on the screens in the Thunderdome,
Yeah.
they could have just put the belt on Charlotte for an entire year if they wanted to, and like, hey, listen, fucking deal with it. There's no fans here to shit on it. But they didn't do that, you know? They didn't treat everyone right. There's a lot of people on Raw that don't mean nearly as much as they should. Even Rhea Ripley doesn't feel as special as she should because we don't know if she's a face, if she's a heel. They do a lot of, like, her dialogue is fucking terrible.
It's so cringy.
It's
like
awful.
It reminds me of when Drew McIntyre was a bad guy and he was feuding with
His dialogue
like
now
Roman.
sucks, too.
I mean, it's so over. Like, there's too many adjectives. But
They're like 5 minutes. It's like 5 minutes of nothing is the problem.
I know that's how they have Rhea talk. Like,
That's how they have a lot of the people talk.
Yeah, but I definitely notice it with her.
No, I agree. She was on Raw Talk this week. You didn't watch it with me, but she was a complete bitch to, like, Kevin Patrick or something. Like, she's so rude. And
I
it's not a
love
Kevin
him.
Patrick thing. It's more like, I thought she was a face. Like, why is she...
And it's
Like, you've-
obviously not her because she's such a sweet person in
Well-
real life. It's her character.
I know that. That's
Okay,
not really...
but if she's listening, I don't want her to think we don't like her.
But here's the thing, that doesn't really bother me, because, like, Eva Marie, I spoke to her last week. The audio of the interviews here on the channel, cheap plug, everyone go check it out. She was one of the nicest people I've talked to. Charlotte, one of the nicest people I've ever talked to. They're two great heels, though. They come across as such bitches on the show.
Yeah.
And not, that's a bad word to use, but, like, mean, whatever. But they're such great people. So, like, Rhea can play a great bad guy and be a really sweet person. That doesn't really bother me. My problem is they haven't really defined what exactly she's supposed to be.
I know.
Like, she's a face in the feud with Charlotte, but she comes across as unlikable. So I don't understand what they're supposed to be going for. You know what I mean?
I know. I think it's because Vince sees, like, the way that she looks and he thinks that she's supposed to be, like, she's supposed to have an attitude or something.
Yeah, but then just, like, book her as a heel and then don't book Charlotte as a heel, too. That's the part that confuses me.
I know. I think they're a little confused with the dynamic there because they like Charlotte as a bad guy, but they also see Rhea as or Vince sees Rhea as a bad guy because of her appearance. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's just bad. It's just a bad combination.
It's just not good. But as far as what they've done wrong in the last year and a half, I mean, not having the fans there during the Performance Center era really fucking hurt them. And they had the NXT people there for a little while. Like, that really hurt the show for a while. That was awful. The constant banging on the glass. I can't really make the noise, but, like, that was terrible.
I got one.
The Thunderdome, they actually did enhance my overall enjoyment of the shows.
Yes.
But the canned reactions are sometimes terrible. I will say that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say this isn't really a booking thing, but I just think how in the beginning more so how
Oh, sorry. The mic is going all over the place, sorry.
how careless they were with how the wrestlers acted.
Yeah, I was going to say
around-
that too. I don't work there, so I can't say. But from what we know, with the the people that weren't wearing masks and stuff like that, the amount of people that were getting sick. Oh my god.
That was definitely something they did terrible on their part. Huge mistake.
I mean, AEW had people pull out of their shows too, but they'd be like, "All right, Joey Janela's not going to be here, not because he doesn't have COVID, but because he was in contact with someone who did. So out of precaution, he's not going to be here for 2 weeks."
Yes,
That's what they should have done.
Exactly, but the thing is,
They wouldn't even say the word coronavirus.
I was
on the
literally
show.
just gonna say the thing is, AEW actually talked about it. WWE didn't talk about it until like a year later.
Until like Drew got it and mentioned it on the show. That was in January, and it started in March.
Like, it's not. We're not walking into Disney World. It's TV. You can say COVID.
I know.
You have enough money. It's not like you're on YouTube and you're gonna get demonetized. Like, you can say it, you know.
This doesn't exist in the WWE world.
I just
They're just in the ThunderDome because they want to be. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They're acknowledging it more now, obviously, but like for the first literally year, they were like, no, they're just not on the show because they're
95% of it, they didn't mention it.
But they wouldn't even say that these people weren't there because, like, oh, they got hurt in storyline. They would just disappear. Remember that one Night of Champions pay-per-view, or it was Clash of Champions we watched in September? They did Bayley and Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I remember Nikki Cross wasn't there because she either had COVID or Killian Dane got it and she was with him because they're married, whatever.
Yeah, I remember.
So they did Asuka instead, who was already the Raw Women's Champion. And she came out and accepted the open challenge or whatever. And the match was over. Remember it ended in like DQ or something? But my point being, they never even said where Nikki Cross was.
Yeah.
And she never even returned to TV for like another month. And then when she came back, she was on Raw. And she never got her title shot. Like, they never even acknowledged it. Like, they've done this so many times where, like, I don't know. I could probably go off. I could make a whole list of people that were like, oh, they were supposed to get a title shot, and they never did, and they never acknowledged it again.
I will also say another good thing that they did was, well, they didn't really do it, but it was a good and bad thing because of how this poor man was treated, but the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, like, his character both thrived during the pandemic, but also literally died off and is never to be seen again, apparently, because they're able to do like the cinematic matches. Like, that was definitely something that they did right. Like, such a great idea. The Fiend really thrived off of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, what happened after, but
yeah,
that was something that definitely was positive that came out of it.
Well, that was another thing too I was going to mention before we go on to the next question. Pro and con, both actually. Pro, cinematic matches. Con, cinematic matches. Because they got to a point where like they were relying on it way too often. They were literally doing one a pay-per-view. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you remember this, but from Backlash last year, they did, it wasn't even a match. It was supposed to be a match that turned into a cinematic segment with the Profits and the Viking Raiders.
Oh my God, that was
in
terrible.
The dumpster with the ninjas. That was when the ninja shit debuted.
That was
terrible. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And like we go from in the span of like 2 or 3 months, we went from the Boneyard match, which was amazing, and the Firefly Funhouse match, which was really well done, to that bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
And like the Swamp Fight was all right. I enjoyed it. A lot of people did not.
I liked that.
I like that
for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Like, here's another thing. Like with the Alexa Bliss shit, with the Fiend. The thing is, you can do a lot of cool stuff in this environment, and to their credit, they have. Like, when Roman Reigns fucking yeeted Dominic off of the, out of the ring a couple of weeks ago, and it was clearly onto a mat on the outside of the ring.
Exactly.
But it looked great, though.
All the editing, because it's a lot of, like,
there's no fans there, exactly.
It's a lot of filmmaking tricks, or, like the stuff with the Fiend. I mean, I don't credit any of the Fiend stuff to them, because I know it was his idea. Like, all
the way they shot
character.
it was their...
Yeah, the way that they shot it, like, all the technicality stuff, but all the creative stuff that came from his character was definitely his doing. The Alexa Bliss shit, that's terrible. I mean, there's no way he came up with that. Like,
well, no, he's not involved with that recently, but when they were together, they were doing some really cool stuff.
Oh, yeah,
like, remember, what were you going to say?
The terrible shit, like, with Shayna,
yeah, he's not involved with that shit.
No.
I'm talking about, like, when she first joined up with him. Remember Braun was, like, threatening to kill Alexa?
No, I know.
Like, had him above his shoulders, and then, like, the lights went out, and she was on the ground. Obviously, he didn't hurt her. But it was, it was a cool... Like, in movies, they don't actually get hurt, but it's the idea of it that looks cool.
Like the Fiend getting burned alive.
I was going to say, him getting burned alive, Ric Flair getting punted in the head by Randy Orton, even though the lights happened to go out at that particular moment. That was cool.
Yeah.
One of the worst parts about it was that we don't have fans there to shit on some stuff like Retribution.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Or
Raw Underground.
Which wasn't... That grew on me over time. Retribution never grew on me
They both
single
never
iota.
grew on me.
So
I hate Shane McMahon.
He didn't have fans there to shit on it and tell them, listen, this sucks. So they just kept doing it for 8 fucking months. In the case of Retribution with
poor Dominic.
Raw Underground, it lasted for all of a month or two. But yeah, Dominic
and poor Mia
Dijakovic, not Dominic Mysterio.
Oh my God.
What?
All the fucking theme song changes.
That's not a...
But if there were fans there, clearly they would have been like shitting all over it. Like the Keith Lee thing, it was so obvious because of the internet, but if there were fans there, people would be shitting on that.
That would not have gone. That debut probably would have gone even worse. And that, it's not a WWE thing. One of the faults of the pandemic era is that you don't have fans there for these special moments. That's no one's fault. But like when Matt Hardy debuted and Brody Lee debuted and Keith Lee debuted and Christian came back, you have no fans there.
Yeah, that's a fans issue, but I'm talking about...
I know what you're saying, though.
Just when they...
He's asking what they did right and wrong, but I know what you're saying.
When they unnecessarily changed people's theme songs, like Alexa Bliss, like very recently, like...
I don't think want to shit on that, but that's...
Well, no, they wouldn't have shit on that, but that's an example, like
thing.
The theme song thing, that theme song is dog shit.
Yeah, most people don't really care about,
Keith Lee, like... What the fuck? Pete Dunne? Why did you change his theme? Adam Cole's theme, I know they broke up. Adam Cole's theme is not very good at all.
Most people don't like it.
It's trash. I'm sorry. It's really bad. There's a whole bunch. But then you also have like entrances that you wish people were there for, like Roman Reigns or Bobby Lashley. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Or Seth Rollins, the 3 like best themes that they have right now because they're so good. But yeah, it's all an opinion.
That's a whole video of its own, but we spent a while on that. But no, I completely agree. It's all subjective, obviously, but...
This is going to be so long.
It is. We're already 50 minutes in. We're not even halfway through the questions.
Oh my god.
A lot of these are pretty simple going forward.
We have lunch to go to.
I know. We have a lot of simple questions, so I'll keep it shorter because I like to talk with a lot of this stuff. They're great questions.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so with AEW going back on tour, this is another John question. Do you think AEW Dark Elevation and Dark will be shortened up to avoid crowd burnout? I think they will be and they won't be. I think if they tape... So, for example, Dark Elevation this week, a whopping 43 minutes. 6 matches, 43 minutes. My favorite episode of Dark Elevation yet, because it was so short. That was in front of a crowd. Dark was not. They taped that at Daly's place with no fans. I don't know how the taping schedule is going to work now, because they have Rampage. So, like, are they going to tape Dark before Dynamite and then Elevation before Rampage? I don't know. If they tape Dark in its own arena with no people in it, like they have been with only the wrestlers in the crowd, they can have it be as long as they want. Dark this week, after Elevation was 43 minutes, Dark itself was 2 hours.
Oh my
with
God.
17 matches and a waiting room segment with Britt Baker and Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't care how good some of the matches are. They're all squashes anyway. It's not even like they're competitive matches for the most part.
At the same time, like, it
depends what the taping schedule is.
It doesn't matter, like, what the matches are. It doesn't matter if they're all, like, 5-star matches. If the show is supposed to be 1 hour and it's 2 hours...
Well, it's not supposed to be 1 hour anymore. It's really whatever they want it to be.
it was originally supposed to be an hour.
Yeah, but they can make it however long they want. But 2 hours of squashes is dumb.
If there's almost 20 matches, by the end of it, people aren't going to give a shit.
Well, that's like WrestleMania. They had like 17 matches when we went, and that's WrestleMania. I don't even like it when they do that. Yeah. That's the biggest show of the year.
Exactly. When we went, I was so excited for the main event, and I barely paid attention.
People were sleeping. That's a little different, but still.
RJ was already out the door before it ended.
He fucking was.
And we got back to the hotel 4 a.m.
Exactly. I'm terrible. That's a whole other story. Don't ask about the next week.
He's probably laughing with his headphones on.
He absolutely is. Hi, Mr. Marceau.
Hi, RJ.
So hopefully
Hi, Molly.
Hi, Molly. Hi, Marceau's. Hopefully they shorten up the shows. I don't think they always will. I wouldn't get your hopes up. John hates it as much as I do. John fucking
hate it.
He tweets me every week when they put out the announcement, like, they put out the announcement that the show is 17 matches this week. He goes, hey, at WrestleRant, I forgot what he said, but he's like, hey, take a look at this. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I always send him gifts, or I send him that Denzel Washington gif, where it's like Denzel Washington at his desk and he smacks the desk. That's one of my favorite gifs. Yeah, we shit on it every week because it's fucking dumb. At Colin_Mick Andrew, when are you going to take this lovely lady off the market? LOL hashtag. This couple is money in the bank.
Oh.
To be determined. I don't give away my tricks here on the show.
That's what I want to know. When are you going to do that?
Whether she's here or not, I don't give away my secrets. Do I look like a fucking dirt sheet to you? Do I look like I give away spoilers? No. Go ask Fightful for those. Go ask Dave Meltzer.
I told him one thing. I said when you propose, Wait, I said...
Told me. I think you're talking about Colin.
No. I told him... Okay, wait. I'm messing up. Okay. I told him, I said, when you propose, you have to do 3 things. You have to make sure I look nice, like I'm dressed nice.
Yes, we discussed this the other day.
You have to make sure my nails are done so I can take a picture. And speaking of taking pictures, you have to have a photographer there that like knows how to take good pictures, preferably a girl, because, you know, girls take better proposal pictures. I'm just saying.
Yes.
So,
I'm not gonna argue with you on that.
Well, the funny thing is, as a joke, you were like, what about...
If I just say, hey, want to get married or something?
No, you said, what about Chris, which is his stepdad? I'm like, no. He's like, it would be free. Oh, my God.
Save some money.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
We will see.
Well, I guess.
That's a threat. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we are Money in the Bank, thanks. At E13A, was Triple H right when he said fans, quote, ruined their own stuff, unquote, by overanalyzing things? I think so.
I could see that.
I think so, and I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think he's right and he's wrong. I do think the fans aren't to blame. I think that's, you know, kind of putting it very negatively. But, like, I think with the fans, people... The thing is, we get, like, a decent show, and we don't see the whole story play out. So it's like, oh, where's it going to go? And I think that's what he's talking about. Like, we're always looking at what's next as opposed to living in the moment. I agree with that. But at the same time, when it comes to WWE, you can't always say, well, it's a wait-and-see approach. Let's see where they go with it and see if they do right by it. Because they never fucking do. That's the problem. Like, if it was any other company, I'd be like, oh, yeah, with NXT. Like, he was talking about NXT, I think, because NXT is what he owns and runs in pretty much. And NXT usually does the right thing. But with the main roster, though, it's not like, oh, you know, the Fiend losing to Randy. Like, okay, we can't shit on it. We can't. We're not allowed to complain about it because we got to see where they're going with it. Where did that go exactly? Randy went into a tag team 2 weeks later. Alexa Bliss went off on her own, and Bray Wyatt disappeared. So, in retrospect, yeah, it was a pretty dumb decision then. Every bit of a dumb decision as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it depends on what company we're talking about. Even in AEW, like, I don't know. I wouldn't overly shit on something until, yes, we see it play out. And I think there's got to be an element of both. You kind of have to live in the moment and enjoy it for what it is, but also kind of look forward and think to yourself, where is this going? Does that make sense? Anything else to add to that, or no? But fans ruining their own stuff. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Any other insight?
I pretty much have the same stance as you. I mean, the only thing I would say is I feel like when he says that, he means, like, just take it for what it is. Don't overthink it. Don't think about it.
It depends on what it is, I think.
Yeah, it does depend on what it is. Some of it is like, don't think about what's going to happen, think about what's happening now, or also take it for what it is. So, like, I don't know. There's so many avenues you could talk about with that, but, you know, I agree with what you said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, the fans are to blame. It's not like the fans are always wrong, or like some people are just overly negative just for the sake of being negative.
But I mean, at the end of the day, who's booking it? They are. So it's really their fault.
Well, I mean, if it ends up going somewhere, it's like, oh, I probably shouldn't have shit on that in retrospect. Like, for example, this is what I'm thinking. Like, with Eva Marie coming back and the whole Doudrop shit, I think Doudrop, the name, is terrible. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it every week, because I think it's going to, and maybe this is me being an idiot, giving them faith in shit, but I think it's going to lead to them, or her breaking away from Eva, and just becoming Piper Niven again. I don't think it's like a new gimmick, where it's like, oh, she's going to be Doudrop for the rest of her career. I don't think so.
Well, yeah, they kind of gave us that idea when she...
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
The way that she is on there.
You know what I mean? And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this company's fucking dumb for... Like, yeah, it's a dumb name, but I think it might actually lead somewhere. If it doesn't, and it's like you're just doing this because you want to and it's permanent, then it's stupid. But, you know, it goes both ways. Their next question, how do you feel about Drew McIntyre's storyteller gimmick? It's fucking awful. Listen, I think, I said this to Alexis the other day, it's not even that his verbiage is always awful, because I think the promos he was cutting last year, specifically with Randy, he was cutting promos almost every week on Raw leading up to WrestleMania that were great. It's just recently with the whole folktale Scottish shit that is just unbearable.
He acts like not him.
And it's not his fault,
But
obviously.
the way they write his promos is like he lived in a terrible third world country because he wasn't in America, and he's like some poor Scottish boy, and he has all these like antique folklore tales. Like, it's just so cringy.
Well, they kind of make it out to be like he's the Scottish warrior, which is his nickname, which he is, but like, here's the issue though. They take something good or something that could work and they shove it down your fucking throat.
They do way too much of it.
Like when he came out with the, I don't mind the sword. Your brother hates the sword now. I like the sword too. They do it every week, and it's like with the kilt, and like that doesn't really bother me. But it's like, all right, between the promos, the kilt, and the sword, I think we get the idea that the guy's supposed to be this Scottish ancestor. Or
like
whatever,
exactly,
you know what I
like
mean?
less is more. Like you don't have to shove it down your throat, but that goes for literally anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, but it's specifically
literally
with Drew because he's the top guy and he's all over the show.
I don't really like it, and like I said too, it's reminding me of when he was a bad guy, just like with Rhea. It reminds me of when he was a bad guy, and he would talk about like, I remember one promo in particular. I don't know if he was feuding with Roman or Drew. I don't remember who, or not Drew.
Who?
Dolph. Drew. I'm talking about Drew.
Okay.
He had a promo with somebody, and he was a bad guy, and he was just like, he used way too many adjectives. That the promo they wrote for him was horrible. It was so cringy, and I'm getting those vibes now, and I just don't like it. Like, he's way too produced.
Yeah, I think last year though, like during the beginning of the pandemic, when they kind of let people be more of themselves, and they kind of focused more on the promos. That was another pro of the pandemic era early on. Like those first early Raws when they were replaying matches every week, they did a lot more promos. Like Edge cut a lot more promos, and they were amazing. When you let people be themselves, it's amazing, and they haven't really done that a lot recently. In recent weeks, at least with Drew and Rhea and people like that. So, not a fan. Hopefully he stops doing it when they get back in front of fans, but because the more they do this shit, people are going to turn on him.
I was going to say, they're going to see very quickly that he'll become the next, like, Roman Reigns. They're going to just...
And it's not his fault. Like, it's not his fault because they're going to boo him because they're booing the company. It's like the whole Roman Reigns thing. People boo him, but they're not really booing him. They're more so booing, like, oh, this company books him like shit.
Which is really sad because
and they blame the person.
His entire, like, championship run, his entire rise to the company, like, not to the company, but you know what I mean? Like, him being a star.
Yeah, to the title
really
person.
Started, like, right before COVID. So, like, he could have his rise and fall while there's no fans there. And it really sucks. But it's not, again, it's not his fault. He's a complete star. He deserves to be in the top title spot. Like, and I'm really happy to see him in that position. But they can't get their hands on literally everything he does. They need to let him be him. I mean, why else would they pick him to be the star, you know?
I'm hoping it's just a phase, because again, it hasn't always been this way, and from a booking standpoint, I don't get the feeling that he's going to be like on main event next week. Like,
no, absolutely not.
I think they've cemented his spot between 2 title reigns, and one of them being like 6 months, and you know, being in featured matches and pay-per-views and WrestleMania. That it's not a blimp, and it's like, oh, back to the, you know, tag team title picture with Dolph. Like, I think he's good. Mm-hmm. Like Kofi, unfortunately, he's back in the title picture now, but like he lost it literally the next week was teaming with New Day. Like, I don't get that sense from him. I think from Drew, I think he's a top guy for good. I'm hoping Bobby Lashley will be the same, but time will tell. Kind of going back to what you mentioned earlier, his next question. How do you feel about the numerous releases WWE has done over the summer? I mean, awful.
First
I'm not
of all,
going to feel good, but yeah.
The latest, I think it was the latest one, Aleister Black. I mean...
It wasn't the latest. That's how many there's been.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't the latest
one. They let go
the
NXT people and the 205 Live people a couple weeks ago.
You, like, to the company, you are so fucking stupid. Like, and I don't understand. I mean, there's obviously, like, there could be shit that's going on that we don't know about, but clearly. But, like, from our standpoint, from what I see, just for him to get released like that, like, how the fuck dare you? Like to get rid of someone who is so incredibly talented in terms of, like, creativity and how he's built his character and just the aesthetic that he gives off and how much of a star he was, like, when he first came up, like, in 2019. Everyone loves him. And you really fucked up there. Same with Samoa Joe. I mean, I know he's back now, but when they first got rid of him, like, do you have your head in your ass? Like, are you stupid?
It makes no sense, yeah.
No, and not a lot of the other people. I mean, Braun Strowman. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Like, how could you do that? Ruby Riott, how could you do that? Like, how dumb do you have to be?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with a lot of people is that they don't need to be cutting people.
No.
Like, even in April of last year, they didn't need to be cutting anyone. But, like, the pandemic first started. We didn't know what was going on. They weren't doing any live touring. Did they need to fire 30-plus people? No. But they did anyway. That I almost get because it's like, okay, pandemic savings, whatever. Didn't need to do it, but whatever. They fired all these
savings
people.
from a multi-billion-dollar company?
Exactly.
Really?
But now they're letting go of people months before they go back on the road. This doesn't make any sense to me. And they're making more money now than ever before. So, what are we going to say?
Another mistake, God, we just keep going back to this, but another mistake they made was all the commentary changes, the Raw commentators.
Yeah, that's a booking thing. That's not a COVID thing, but
well, no, it's not.
It happened during the pandemic.
It's not because of COVID, but because the releases remind me of Adnan Virk, that poor man.
Yeah, it was a complete waste of time.
He was there for what, a month?
Literally 6 weeks. Maybe the steam was just coming off of his WWE cup of coffee before they dumped it out and kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, I don't agree. I do not agree with all the releases. I agree with you. It's inhumane. I mean, some of them, No Way Jose, sorry, not sorry, dude.
I mean, yeah, we haven't seen him since because he wasn't really going anywhere. But
no, he was
someone
just
like an EC3, they completely bungled by letting him go.
I know.
Like Rusev, they completely. I mean, he was on his way out anyway. But people like that, why would you come on without even giving these people a chance?
Or just the fact that they got rid of a shit ton of the women, and then they literally have 5 women on SmackDown.
And they had to bring back Zelina Vega because SmackDown has no people.
Yeah,
I mean, they brought her back for other reasons, but they have literally.
I just don't agree with it.
Their amount of women on SmackDown went from 5 to 6. Whoopee. Why did you fire all those women in the first place? It was stupid.
Whoopee. That was funny.
Speaking of SmackDown, how do you feel about Roman Reigns, also from E13? How do you feel about Roman Reigns, the Usos, and where their storyline might go after ... recent events? I don't know, because the thing is that Jay's been gone for a month or something for unexplained reasons. I think storyline reasons.
Is he injured?
No, I don't think he's injured. I think they're just keeping him out to bring him back for something big or to reunite them all. I don't really know.
They got to speed that up now.
That's what I'm saying. So Jimmy's... I don't know. So this is the problem. Jimmy Uso has got a fucking problem. He's got an issue. They need to bring him to rehab or fire him or something. They don't even suspend these people. People have gotten suspended for the absolute dumbest things, including, the pot stuff, which I know was illegal before recently, depending on what state you're in, blah, blah, blah. But, in retrospect, for people getting busted for shit like that, but not alcohol.
Yeah, if you
which you could have killed someone with is fucking stupid. Being on the road drunk driving is what I mean.
Exactly. Which one is worse? Just being in possession of weed or drunk driving?
Drunk driving?
Oh, I don't know.
I was gonna say because weed was illegal and alcohol isn't. But the thing is that they were doing something illegal in drunk driving. So they also should have gotten suspended for 30 days. If you're put in jail or arrested or whatever, incarcerated for any reason, you should be either fired or suspended.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Enzo was falsely accused and he got fired and whatever. That happens all the time. The guy Adam Rose was arrested for domestic abuse. While they figured everything out, they suspended him. And when I don't think he went to jail for it, but they eventually fired him. But that happens all the time, dude. It happens constantly.
Do you think it's because he's one of the Usos?
No, this has happened a lot. Jeff Hardy and the Usos have had more DUIs than literally any one of the companies, in the last decade combined. Anybody.
Oh my God.
That's how many DUIs these people have had. At least 2 or 3 each in the last number of years. But, this has happened before with other people, and nothing ever happens. And it's a big, the guy Alex Riley had a DUI, Cameron... of the Funkadactyls, among other people. And thank God nothing happened. But, what if they killed someone? You know what I mean? And, and they're just going to continue to do it, which they have been. Jimmy Uso's still drunk driving. Why? I don't know how people work, but, you would think after getting arrested for it the first time, you would think, oh, it's not that big of a deal, let's do it again. That's what he's thinking right now. Because if he didn't hurt anyone, and the company sure doesn't give a fuck, then why would he give a shit? Which he doesn't, because otherwise why would he still be doing it? So, I don't know where they go with it. I heard that Roman was fucking pissed, obviously. The company was very frustrated, obviously. The guy just came back after a year, and fucked it up.
Why would you do that?
He's an idiot. They're both morons, but specifically Jimmy. Why would you do that? Jay's had his issues too, but I don't think he's been busted for that in about a year or two, maybe 3, I don't know, but... That's not good. So I don't know where they go with it. I really don't. I think they will, like you said, bring back Jay and kind of speed up the process because I don't really know what else you do with it, you know?
They're going to have to. It's either that or they'll, give him something to do while they're dealing with Jimmy, or they just will bring Jimmy back. Like,
well,
not even
Jimmy could be on the show on Friday.
Exactly.
For all. I mean, he very well could because, again, they had a DUI a few years ago and nothing changed. Like, they were still on the show, or the Usos, so... Like, they ended up disappearing for a few months. In late 2018, early 2019, they came back with, like, the new haircuts to realign with Roman and reunite with Roman when they were feuding with Baron Corbin and shit like that. But they had a DUI, and they had a Raw Tag Team title match that week on Raw, and they were on Raw anyway. So it's like...
I remember that.
Why are they on the show?
I know. Why do you give them, like...
Remember... Yeah, it makes no sense.
Not
it's like
special treatment.
Awarding
I mean, why do they... Exactly. Why do you reward them?
Yeah, why reward them? It's like, remember when John Cena came back to Raw for the Raw reunion show? He made a joke about, like, he was in the ring with, like, the Usos or something like that. He made a joke about them drunk driving.
Yep.
But that was right before the DUI happened, too.
Oh,
that was terrible timing.
yikes.
That's embarrassing.
It would almost be funny if they had him come back on the show and they had him, like, lose to some, like, Otis or something, like some random
just
person.
to punish him.
But, and the thing is, they do that, but to the wrong people. Like, they'll do that to Lana just because Rusev is gone. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have their priorities straight regardless.
They've done that sometimes, I feel like. But most of the time, they just do it because they're petty, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
From @Scarlet1, they asked me this a few weeks ago. I said yes, potentially. They're going to pose the same question to you. Would Alexis buy a WWE credit card? You know the Credit One credit cards they've had on the show that are promoted? Like, Dylan has seen it because Dylan's like, oh, that's kind of cool. We've talked about it before.
What is it?
It's a credit card from Credit One or whatever. They've shown it on Raw before, where it's just the logo on the credit card.
Oh.
Remember that? They're just asking if you would buy one of those.
No.
What?
I would want something that looks nicer than that.
It's just like a cool looking logo thing.
It's just the logo on it?
Let me pull it up. You've definitely seen it before, and you're like, oh yeah, at least you're not shoving it in your face with like John Cena on it. We've discussed this before. WWE credit card.
ASMR.
Okay, that's weird. Right here.
No, I wouldn't get that.
What? I like the red one. Well, I'm going to be using it, so too bad.
I don't even have a credit card.
I know, but I'm just saying, would you? I'm just saying, like...
I would get one that, like, has, like, a pretty pattern on it, or, like, a picture of Farrah or something, my dog.
But not the logo?
Why would I get the logo?
'Cause I'm a mark!
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I'd buy friggin' underwear with the logo on it if I could.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you heard about Terry Funk and his recent status? I have. I heard he was suffering from dementia, so that's terrible. I heard that yesterday, and he had some other health issues. So hopefully he's feeling better soon. You don't know who that is. I don't think. Oh, you may have seen him before, but yeah, he's a legend. So yeah, I was really sad to hear that. So hopefully he's doing better, or he gets help, or not gets help, but like his condition improves because dementia's just fucking terrible. Mm-hmm. So that's really sad to hear about. Third question, riveting question here: cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah, dogs.
Yeah.
Easily. She has a cat, but she has 5 dogs. Without even mentioning all the other animals. But as far as cats and dogs...
Oh my god.
1 cat, you used to have another. You had 6 dogs, but now you have 5. But still, they far exceed the amount of cats that you have.
Well, at one point, we used to have 5 dogs and 4 cats. But then all the cats just started to die off.
They don't have 9 lives? How do they have more lives? How do they not live as long as the dogs? How do the dogs last longer? They have 1 life. Cats have 9.
I don't know.
Makes no sense.
We're quoting RJ over here.
How do you feel about AEW in 2021 so far? Kind of go off what you said earlier.
Way too many fucking stables. Way too many fucking stables. It
feels like to me up until I really enjoyed last week's show, and I'm really looking forward to tonight because it's a theme show. They're back on the road. The crowds, I think, are the biggest things missing from AEW and NXT, even more than like Raw and SmackDown.
Absolutely, because NXT
they're really rowdy, you know.
NXT and AEW have gone stale a little bit, and some of it is not their fault. Obviously, like the crowd is probably the biggest portion of that. But AEW doesn't excite me. I just don't care about watching it. Like, there's people on there that I like, yes, but it's nothing. it's a lot more wrestling than the creative aspect of it, and I like more of like the storylines and the characters and stuff.
We know.
That's why I like Bray Wyatt so much. But AEW is more just, okay, match here, a couple promos, one segment. Like, it's not as creative. It's more just wrestling.
Yeah, it's like, it's standard wrestling booking. For me, it's just been a lot of the same stuff in recent months.
Yes.
They picked up the pace for the last 2 shows that I enjoyed. But it's just kind of like, it's good wrestling for the sake of good wrestling. And the same thing with NXT. Like, they're good shows. They're not bad shows. Like, Raw's a terrible show. They're good shows. But there's nothing, there wasn't, at least up until like a week or 2 ago, nothing really of note happening. It's just like, oh, put this Inner Circle guy against this Pinnacle guy.
Like, I remember
I don't know.
The first pandemic show that AEW did was the best one I've ever seen that they did. It was, not including the pay-per-views, of course, but it was insane. Like, obviously they had, Brody Lee, rest in peace. They had him come out. They had Matt Hardy come out. They had, like, it was so good. It was a great show. And you're right. They've just had, just a show every week, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just bland. There's nothing giving me, like, that instinct to, like, oh my God, I need to watch this.
And the fact that it's not up ahead against NXT doesn't really matter either. It's not like, oh, they were such a much better show when they were up against NXT. I think NXT's actually been a better show since they moved to Tuesdays, to be honest with you personally. I think the show's just been more fun to watch, and they're not worrying about going up against AEW. And the ratings are still terrible, but it's like, that's my 2 cents on it. With AEW, I don't know. It just didn't really feel like the sense of urgency was there. It kind of felt like it's a show, and the pay-per-views have been great for the most part, but the shows have just been kind of there, so hopefully that improves with the fans coming back. And you really like Orange Cassidy came out on Dark Elevation on Monday for the song that you like by the Pixies. They went nuts for him. I think having that element of it, or like when Jungle Boy won at Double or Nothing, the crowd went fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I think I missed that element of it, and AEW fans are just the shows have much more of a vibe to them, a much more energetic vibe than the WWE shows do. So, like, I missed that portion of it. Hopefully we get that back with the shows coming back on the road very soon. Last couple of questions here, last 3 questions, also from Scarlet. One real quick. If you had to pick 5 wrestlers, and don't pick 5, but just pick, like, any number, to star in one movie, who would you pick? Bonus challenge, you can only pick one person between John Cena, Batista, and The Rock among the 5.
Oh, so I didn't even think of those people.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're obviously established actors. I would pick Batista. I think he's the most refined actor of the 5 of them, of the 3 of them. Like, in terms of, like, he can be in a serious role. Cena and Rock do a lot of the same roles, and I enjoy them, but probably Batista. The only other person that comes to mind, Bray fucking Wyatt, obviously.
You took mine.
No, I didn't take it. I mean, we were both thinking the same thing. I don't really know, honestly, who else could be in a movie that I would be like, oh... Well, why are you giving me that face?
I feel like I could pick so many people.
All right, you're more creative at this. This is more of a you question.
I would say, first of all, I would pick The Rock just because I love The Rock. I mean, I love Batista too, and I think Batista is probably the most refined answer, like you said, but I just feel like The Rock would be cool on set. I'm thinking about this, like, if I worked with them on a movie, these are the people that I think would be great, like, if I was the director. I would love The Rock. I think he would be great. I feel like he's moldable. Like, he does a lot of the same roles. I think you can mold him.
I completely agree. Yeah, I'm not...
And he would get a lot of butts and seats, for tickets. Mm-hmm. He would make a lot of money because he's The Rock.
Bray Wyatt, actor in Hollywood.
Bray Wyatt, hands down. He's such a good actor. I've always said, like, he needs to be an actor. He's so talented.
Yep.
He's such a creative mind. Like, just the shit he comes up with is like, how did you think of that?
Yep.
I would definitely say Charlotte. I think Charlotte has a lot of potential.
Okay.
She can be really cringy sometimes, but I think if you get the right if you get the correct writing down and you get her comfortable and you kind of, if she has a little bit of training, I think she could be really, really, really good. I think she has a lot of potential. I would say
MJF would be a perfect dick in any movie, like a high school bully or something.
MJF could be good. I feel like he might be a little bit, like, cringy. I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
I think he could be good too. I feel like if you gave him like an acting class, I feel like he could be really, really, really good.
Okay.
Roman would be great. Roman is a pretty good actor, I would say.
I agree with Roman.
There was like someone else that I said that I was like, oh my god, he'd be such a good actor. I say this all the time.
Yeah, we see it with a lot of people.
Because, you know, I'm a theater kid. So.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, all those people would be great. Jeff Hardy would be really, really, really cool in a movie. I could see him being in like a really serious movie. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I'm sure there's people on NXT as well. Like, Scarlett. I've said that Scarlett should be an actress.
I could see that.
I think she would be great. That's a big one there.
I think Johnny would die to be in a Marvel movie.
Oh my god, Johnny would be so good.
He'd be like a mini Star-Lord.
Dexter would be cool too. I could see
Dexter.
I could see him
American
in a film.
Psycho remake or something. Yeah, I can see that. There's quite a few answers, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. At Richie Rich 93 _ this is him. This is Richie.
Hi Richie.
Hi Richie.
Hi Richie's wife.
His question was, what has been or become your favorite match and or wrestling related pay-per-view to watch together? And happy anniversary, y'all.
Thank you, Richie.
Appreciate that, dude. Thank you very much.
Royal Rumble, definitely.
Royal Rumble.
Does he mean like just which one or which kind of pay-per-view?
No, I think he means like, one show that we've watched together. It's like, this is our favorite show to watch together. In my opinion, if it's any one show, I didn't know what to answer or how to answer this when I first saw the question, but you just kind of gave me an idea. If I had to pick one, probably the Royal Rumble 2020.
Yeah.
The last real big pay-per-view before the pandemic.
I would say that one.
WrestleMania 35, because we were there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would say for this answer, definitely one of the shows that we went to would be a great answer. Like, well, we didn't go to Royal Rumble 2020, although I would have loved to go.
No, but there's a good show.
That was an insane show. It was so good. Or there was like a really not Crown Jewel. I mean, Crown Jewel I love to watch just because it's so funny.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah,
I like stuff like that. It's funny.
Yeah, we watched that.
Is there any show that we've watched like a few times?
We rewatched a couple of drafts. We watched for one match, not because the match. I mean, I enjoy the match, but she likes it for other reasons. The Vince McMahon versus Shane McMahon match from WrestleMania 17 for the sole moment of Linda McMahon standing up. That would probably be on the list. That was hilarious.
Just the sole moment when she just stands up and the crowd goes insane.
Yep.
Makes me laugh every time. It's so funny.
Yep, we rewatched that a couple of times. Shawn and Taker we watched a couple of times.
Anything with like Ultimate Warrior too, I feel like.
Yeah, anything, we watched Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior a few times from WrestleMania 6.
Not the Halloween Havoc one.
We watched that, but yeah, no, we haven't watched that a few times. We watched that once because that was enough.
There's a few, yeah.
There's a few. There's not like one go-to, like we'll sit down and rewatch it every day.
But if we had to choose between those, it would definitely be like one that we either went to or like Royal Rumble 2020, I think, because that one is like
Royal Rumbles just in general.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble 2008 we rewatched a couple of times.
The ones from like 2019.
Yeah, we've rewatched those like a bunch. That. Yeah, 2018, 2019, 2020, men's and women's.
Yeah.
Old takeovers. Yeah, there's a couple different answers you can give there. I think those are the ones that kind of come to mind. Mm-hmm. And we rewatched, not a couple of times, but we did rewatch the Omega and Pac match, the Iron Man match.
Oh, it's such a good match.
That was before the pandemic, like 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that if anything else comes to mind, I'll say it, but I'm pretty sure that's what comes to mind. And thank you, Richie, for the question, and thank you for saying happy anniversary. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Richie. Nice seeing you.
Yeah, we just saw him a couple of weeks ago. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. I think we're currently planning on seeing him. I don't know if he'll be there, but hopefully. I'm currently planning on seeing Richie at the Northeast Wrestling Show in August in Poughkeepsie, which I'll probably go to. we'll probably figure something out. But we were planning on going to the Waterbury show in a few weeks, but it's just, I don't know, there's only Enzo on the card, and the Northeast guys are great, but we just went a few weeks ago, so I might just hold out until Poughkeepsie. Matt's going to be there, Eddie Kingston, Ty Conti, Sammy Guevara, Jerry Lawler, list goes on and on. Last question from, what's his username here? At RJ_Marceau.
RJ!
Mr. Marceau.
Hi,
my favorite
RJ.
brother. His question was, or two questions actually. I'll one wrestling, one non-wrestling
Would
related.
you save the best for last?
Wrestling question. Now that fans are returning, what was your favorite match from the pandemic era of the last year? Which is a great question.
That's a great question.
Second question. He says, what is the story on how you guys met? Great content for the fans. Congrats on the anniversary.
Oh, thanks, RJ.
Answer that one first, then we'll go into the wrestling question. Because this is a wrestling show after all.
One, how we met?
Yeah, going to that. I'm pretty sure we've told this story before
We
on
have.
the show.
Okay.
I'm sure we've been asked this before, but RJ just wants to hear it again for the sake of.
So 3 years ago, I came home. I used to go to an acting school in New York City, and 3 years ago, I came home on Graham's birthday on June 2nd.
Yep.
And side note, ironically enough, I was in Grand Central the same exact day that he was in Grand Central going to a Ring of Honor show with his brother. So, yeah, super weird. But I came home.
I think I saw you. I think we ran into each other.
No, we did not. I've definitely known of him before, but once or twice, because I used to go to the movie theater that we worked at once a week.
Yeah, I've seen you before, and I've seen your family a bunch of times. Yeah. Who I already knew were wrestling fans, by the way.
Yeah, and Marvel fans.
And Marvel fans.
So the next day was June 3rd. That's when we met. I had an interview that day, and then I saw you. And
Yep.
I was like, he's gorgeous. He's very handsome.
I am. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then a couple days later, we both had an opening shift at the movie theater, and you trained me, and we had a 7-hour shift, I think, or something like that, or 6 hours. We literally talked the entire time. And then at the end of it, and he'll tell everyone otherwise, but I'm telling you, this is how he talked to me. God. He had a Dean Ambrose sweatshirt on, which is now mine. It's in my closet.
It's on rent, by the way. You're renting it. You're borrowing it.
No, it's mine now.
It's on lease.
It's mine.
Sure.
And so we had to we were supposed to keep our phones up in these lockers upstairs in the office area, but he had his with him, and I was talking to him. I was like, oh, I didn't get a picture of the schedule. My phone's upstairs. And then he all of a sudden goes, oh, I'll text it to you. What's your number? And you can't tell me, that was a little opening right there. He slid right in to get my number. Yes, it was.
But then later we texted back and forth jokingly as you left the building, and then you said something, and I didn't respond to it because you'd already left the building, and I didn't want to be a creepster.
He ghosted me.
I didn't want to be a weirdo creeping on this girl that just started working there, which is what any guy would do. Any male would definitely do that, and people were already preying on you.
No,
I'm sure.
any respectful male. And that's what you did. You gave me space because you were a good
I'm
person.
saying any guy would have gone after you is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Any man would have done that. So
and then
I'm like, no, just do the opposite.
And then 2 days later, I texted him because there was an employee showing that we used to have at work. They would show movies every Thursday, and there was one for the movie Hereditary, which don't watch it. It will scar you. And I texted him just to it was literally an excuse just to start conversation because I just wanted to text you because I was kind of sad that you didn't text me back.
Oh my goodness.
So we started talking about movies, and then we literally texted all day, every day. And then we became friends, really good friends. And then we went on a date, and then, I was going to say something else. Oh, and then, so on July 7th, the night of July 7th, 2018, we both worked. There were fireworks going on in the city that we work in.
This is why the anniversary is 2 days, by the way, to answer the question from the start of the show.
Yeah, this is why.
Because it makes no sense, but this is why it's 2 days.
Honestly,
it's night 1, night 2 of WrestleMania.
Exactly, it's the best. It's great too. But so I had a closing shift, and at this movie theater, people who drove, they would have one associate stay until the last movie got out to help, like, you know, clean the theater and just close everything up, and then they would have the closing manager. So I was the one closing that day, and I was only there for a month, and the managers and some of the associates kind of scared me, and they were like, oh, you know, the fireworks are going on, like, there's going to be a lot of sketchy people, like, and they kind of freaked me out, and I kind of played it up so Graham could feel bad and, you know, stay with me. I'm just going to admit that right now. God. And then Graham heard me that I was kind of stressed out about it and upset, and he offered to stay with me until I got out. Only, you know, as long as it wasn't like if I drove you home. I think you just offered to stay with me. It wasn't even like, can you drive me home later? Because you got a ride from my house that night. So we waited until the last movie got out, cleaned everything up. We walk out to my car. And then we were just sitting in the parking lot, literally just talking, because that's all we would do. We would just talk and talk and talk for stuff, and like we're doing now.
That's what we're doing right now. Exactly.
That's why the podcast is so long, because we both talk a lot. And then we were talking, and then we kissed, and then he asked me out, but it was at 1 a.m. the next day, so that's why it's 2 days, because he asked me out.
I think it was at 1 a.m. I don't think we ever determined what time it was.
It was at 1 a.m.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that. It was at 1 a.m. It wasn't like it was at... Because it got out pretty late. Like, the movies those nights got out pretty late, and then...
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
We were talking in my car for, like, at least an hour.
It was still that Saturday, so that's why we determined, like, oh, it was still Saturday the 7th, even though officially it was the 8th.
Officially, yes, you asked me out on the 8th. But all of the other prior events occurred on the 7th, so that's why it's
whoever
2 days.
Becomes official on fucking. I mean, I don't know. I guess Mr. Marceau has kind of a similar situation, because I'm pretty sure he and Molly started dating on New Year's Eve. So, what if you kiss someone on New Year's Eve at night, at midnight? Are you official on the 1st, or were you official on the 31st? Yes, it falls on the 1st, but by going by your logic, everything transpiring up to that point happened on the 31st. So, if Mr. Marceau, if you're not celebrating the 31st and the 1st as your anniversary, then
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, come on.
So,
that's how it happened.
That's the story. Night 1 and night 2. This is currently night 1 of the 3-year anniversary. And number 3 is her favorite number, so it kind of works out well.
It is.
And for his second question, what was your favorite match from the pandemic era last year? For me, I think off the top of my head, 2 come to mind. One, the Boneyard match, or the Firefly Funhouse match for you, between Styles and Taker was amazing. Just, you know, I had no expectations for it, but they, like, with the cinematic stuff, they blew me away. So either that, or Roman, Edge, and Bryan from Night 2 of Mania this year, which we were there for. Great 2-day show. Watched it from a private suite. Match was awesome. Roman winning was cool. Great entrances, the crowd energy, everything about it was amazing. So probably one of those 2. If I had to throw an AEW match in there, I thought the Bucks and FTR had an amazing match last year at was it Full Gear? I think it was Full Gear. They had a really, really good match. And then from Double or Nothing this year with fans, Adam Page and Hangman that makes no sense. Adam Page and Brian Cage had a really good match. And the Bucks versus Moxley and Kingston I love too. RJ does not agree, but I really, really enjoyed that match. But my favorite overall from the pandemic era would probably be Roman, Edge, and Bryan, because we were there for it. And it was the only show with fans during the pandemic era, technically, for WWE. And then the Boneyard would be a close second. So those are my choices.
I would pretty much agree with exactly what you said, except instead of the Boneyard match, I would say the Firefly Funhouse match.
Yeah, and I figured that.
Yeah, just because I love
Bray Wyatt.
You know, love him. Favorite wrestler. So I think another highlight would be like the swamp fight, literally just because he brought back his old character. Mm-hmm. No other reason. Don't remember anything from that match other than when they started playing his old theme, and I fucking freaked out because I loved it. And I definitely was thinking about that triple threat match. Like, Yes, I completely agree. Just because of the circumstance where we were, it was very emotional because...
Well, both nights, actually. Bobby and Drew was great. Bianca
Yes.
and Sasha was great. Rollins and Cesaro was great, so...
Oh my god, yes. Actually, that's probably my choice is Rollins and Cesaro. That
Okay.
one was insane.
Yep.
But going back to the triple threat, like, it was the last match of the first show back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so emotional because everyone was happy to be around other people in like a crowd. We were in our own press box. Like, we had free food. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. So I would definitely say those three matches: Rollins, Cesaro, Firefly Funhouse match, and the triple threat.
Honorable mention for me, MSK versus Grizzled Young Vets from TakeOver Vengeance Day in the finals of the Men's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I love that match too. Tag team wrestling at its finest. That was one of my favorite matches all year because they work really well together.
Yeah, if I had
War Games was another one.
If I had to pick one, I would say the Firefly Funhouse match, just because I think, like, when you think of during the pandemic era, I feel like that is...
Well, the cinematic matches.
That's a cinematic match because of circumstance. It was, John Cena, Bray Wyatt, he was finally getting his win back. Like, it was not the peak of his character, but he was thriving too. So, all of that.
I will say this for AEW, actually. I take back what I said. My favorite AEW match during the pandemic era may have been Stadium Stampede from last year.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one, too. That's a great one.
Yeah, that one probably. I also liked Final Deletion or Elite Deletion or whatever it was. A lot of people didn't like it or as much as the other ones, which I get. But I still thoroughly enjoyed that with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara because I love all the Matt Hardy shit. So there's a bunch. There's been quite a few, but I would probably go with those as my favorite matches from the pandemic era. And I mentioned a bunch last week when John asked me about it here on the show, but including last year, those would probably lead the list. Roman and Drew was a really good match too from Survivor Series. I remember really, really liking that. I'm sure there's more I'm not thinking of. The Royal Rumbles are always fun. Like, I enjoyed those. The first ever pandemic Rumbles with no fans. They still made those enjoyable. So, yeah, those would be our picks. And finally, that does it, guys, for episode 397, I want to double check, of #AskGSM here today for July 7th, 2021, night one of our anniversary. It is 397, just to double check. But, yeah, this has been a lot of fun, guys. The longest episode I've done in some time, clearly, because you were on here, and we're going back and forth and just bullshit about a bunch of stuff, so really no surprise there. But, yeah, appreciate you guys checking out the show. It's been a lot of fun. Be sure to, if you want to send in questions, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And leave your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Any parting words, Alexis, as we ride off into the sunset here for episode 397 of #AskGSM? And Alexis.
No.
No! A woman of words has nothing to say.
I know. Thanks. I guess that's Thanks. No, this was fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you, not reaching out. I feel like you sent me an email about it.
Reaching out.
But like,
like we're
inquiring about it, exactly. I appreciate you offering up the idea.
I like being on the show. It's fun.
And I was going to say, hopefully it's not another year before we have you on again.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot for joining me, and I love you. And
love you.
I'll catch your ass down the road.
Okay.
Bye.